I stared down at my worn-out shoes, a fresh hole peeking through the thin fabric near my big toe. Another pair gone. How was I supposed to afford new ones? My stomach growled, a hollow ache that matched the one in my bank account. The smell of cheap coffee barely masked the lingering scent of disinfectant from the clinic. Another grueling 12-hour shift was about to start, and all I had was $3.75. Enough for the smallest, blackest coffee. No milk, no sugar, definitely no fancy latte. Maybe if I skipped lunch again, I could patch this hole. I sighed, the sound catching in my throat. Rough morning, a voice rumbled beside me. I looked up, startled. Standing next to me was an older man, his hair a wild shock of white. His clothes were nice, but also a bit rumpled, like he'd slept in them. He had kind eyes, though, the kind that seemed to see more than you wanted them to. I clutched my flimsy paper cup tighter. Just trying to make it through, I mumbled, already feeling tired. He glanced down, his gaze landing exactly where mine had been, on my shoes. A small, knowing smile played on his lips. Those tell a story, don't they? Every step taken in service, every ache endured for others. He paused, then looked me straight in the eye. You know, there's a dignity in giving, even when it costs you everything. It's a gift that people forget. I didn't know what to say. No one ever talked to me like that. People usually just saw the uniform, not the person inside it or the holes in her shoes. Before I could form a reply, he reached into his pocket and pulled out a crisp $100 bill. My eyes widened. No, I couldn't, I stammered, shaking my head. He pressed the bill into my hand, his grip surprisingly firm. Nonsense. Let me buy your coffee. Get yourself something nice, too. A latte, perhaps? You've earned it. His smile widened, and for a second, I felt like he truly understood something deep inside me. Consider it a small thank you for all the dignity you put out into the world, little by little. He nodded, a final, gentle gesture, and then turned, slowly walking out of the coffee shop before I could even properly thank him. Philemon, the barista had called him, handing me a change for the 100. I stood there, bewildered, holding a hot latte I hadn't ordered, a $100 bill in my hand, and a strange feeling in my chest. What a weird, kind man. Hey, my friend, hope you're doing well. Drop a comment and let me know how you're feeling about this story so far and where you are watching from. Some stories are too close to my heart to share on YouTube. I send those, along with little life lessons and surprises, to my email circle. If you'd like to be part of it, you can join with the link in the description. The $100 felt like a burning coal in my pocket all morning. A latte. He told me to get a latte. I didn't get one. I got my usual black coffee, and then spent the rest of the morning staring at the money, wondering if I should buy new shoes, or maybe finally fix the leaky faucet in my kitchen. The words he'd said, about dignity and service, kept playing in my head. It felt good to be seen, even by a stranger. But soon, the clinic floor got busy, a steady stream of patients needing their blood pressure checked, their cuts cleaned, their medication sorted. The $100 bill got pushed deeper into my pocket, forgotten, just like the kind, rumpled man who'd given it to me. Life went back to its usual pace of rushing and worrying, of trying to do too much with too little. By the time my shift ended, my feet throbbed, and the hole in my shoe felt bigger than ever. My back ached. I dragged myself onto the bus, the exhaustion seeping into my bones. The sun was already setting, painting the sky in hues of orange and purple. Another day done. Another day where I'd tried my best, where I'd given a little piece of myself to everyone who walked through those clinic doors. And another day where I felt like I was running just to stay in the same place. My apartment building looked just as tired as I felt. The dim hallway light flickered as I fumbled with my keys. All I wanted was a hot shower and maybe a bowl of cheap ramen. But when I pushed open my door, I stopped dead. Two stern-faced people stood in my tiny living room, looking completely out of place among my mismatched furniture and stacks of overdue bills. A third person, a big man with a serious expression, stood by the door, blocking my exit. My heart hammered against my ribs. Had I done something wrong? Was this about an unpaid bill, finally turning into something scary? I felt a wave of cold panic wash over me. Miss Janet Davis, the woman asked, her voice calm but firm. She held a sleek, black briefcase. Her partner, a man with thin glasses, held a thick stack of papers. Yes, I whispered, my voice barely there. My eyes darted to the man by the door. He didn't move. My name is Eleanor Vance, and this is my colleague, Mr. Hayes. We represent the estate of Philemon Vance. Philemon. The name hit me like a physical blow. The kind, rumpled man from the coffee shop. My stomach twisted. Is he okay? I asked, a sudden dread gripping me. Eleanor's face softened slightly, but her eyes remained serious. Mr. Vance passed away peacefully this morning, Ms. Davis. My breath caught. Passed away. The man who had seen my worn-out shoes, who had spoken about dignity, was gone. Just like that. A strange sadness, mixed with confusion, settled over me. I'm so sorry to hear that, I managed. He was very kind to me this morning. Mr. Hayes stepped forward, holding out the thick stack of papers. Ms. Davis, we understand this is sudden. However, we are here to inform you that Mr. Philemon Vance, in his last will and testament, signed just 3 days ago, has named you, Janet Davis, as the sole heir to his entire estate. My mind went blank. Estate? Sole heir? My brain couldn't put the words together. It was like they were speaking a different language. Eleanor took a step closer, her voice dropping a little. Ms. Davis, Philemon Vance was the founder and CEO of Vance Global Technologies. His fortune is estimated at $42 billion. $42 billion. The number hung in the air, heavy and impossible. My $3.75 from this morning, my worn-out shoes, the leaky faucet, none of it made sense with that number. My legs felt weak. The world spun. This wasn't real. It couldn't be. Philemon. A stranger who bought me coffee. A fortune. Why me? The question screamed inside my head, already a terrifying echo. This wasn't a gift. This felt like the beginning of something else entirely. Something I couldn't understand. Something cold and dark. My legs gave out. I didn't even feel myself hit the worn carpet. My hands instinctively went to the floor, rough fibers scratching my palms. $42 billion. The words echoed in my ears, bouncing off the peeling paint of my apartment walls. I couldn't even imagine $1 million, let alone 42,000 times that. The woman lawyer, Eleanor, knelt down beside me, her perfect suit still crisp, her face holding a look that was almost pity, but not quite. The man lawyer, Mr. Hayes, remained standing, a watchful statue. Ms. Davis, are you all right? She asked, her voice softer now, but still formal. I tried to speak, but only a dry rasp came out. My throat felt thick, like I'd swallowed sand. I shook my head, pushing myself back onto my feet, using the flimsy bookshelf for support. My hands trembled, making the cheap particle board creak. This couldn't be real. This was a trick. A terrible, cruel joke. Who was Philemon Vance to me? A kind stranger who bought me coffee this morning. That was all. There must be a mistake, I finally managed to say, my voice still shaky. I don't know him. Not really. He bought me coffee. My shoes had a hole. My explanation sounded so small, so ridiculous, against the huge number they had just said. Eleanor stood up, her eyes still fixed on me. There is no mistake, Ms. Davis. Mr. Vance's will is clear, signed and witnessed just 3 days ago. It names you, Janet Davis, as his sole beneficiary. Every asset, every share, every piece of property, every dime of his fortune belongs to you. She paused, letting the words hang in the air, heavy and suffocating. We understand this is a shock. Mr. Vance was a private man, known for his unconventional decisions. But his will is legally binding. The man by the door, the big, silent one, shifted his weight. I noticed he had an earpiece. Security. My mind felt like a tangled ball of yarn. Security for me? Just hours ago, my biggest worry was new shoes. Now it was this. Eleanor continued, her voice losing its softness, becoming businesslike again. For your safety, and to manage this transition, we've arranged for you to move immediately. Your current residence is no longer secure. We have a car waiting. Move? Immediately? My whole life was packed into this tiny apartment. My few belongings, my routine, my quiet existence. It felt like a trap, not a gift. My heart pounded a frantic rhythm. Wait, I said, holding up a hand. I need to think. I need to understand. But there was no time to think. The next few hours were a blur. I was swept up, my old life left behind in a rush. The stern lawyers escorted me out of my apartment, past my shocked neighbors. The quiet man from the door became my shadow, following my every move. I sat in the back of a black car, expensive leather molding to my skin, watching my old street disappear behind us. Everything felt dreamlike, like I was watching a movie about someone else. Someone who looked like me, but wasn't. They took me to a house that wasn't just big, it was enormous. Glass and stone, cold and grand, tucked away behind a tall fence and thick trees. Guards stood at the gate. Inside, it was like a museum, full of smooth surfaces and empty spaces. My old, worn shoes felt out of place on the gleaming floors. A woman, thin and quiet, showed me to a bedroom bigger than my entire apartment. The closet was empty, waiting for clothes I didn't own. I felt small, lost. I tried to call my best friend, Maria, but Eleanor had already explained that my phone was no longer secure. They gave me a new one, a plain, dark device, but told me to hold off on calling anyone for a few days. For my safety. The why me question hammered in my head every minute. Why would Philemon Vance, a man with $42 billion, choose me? A nursing assistant from a community clinic, barely making ends meet. The dignity of service. His words from the coffee shop echoed. Was that it? A simple act of kindness, a passing thought from an eccentric billionaire? It felt too random, too thin a reason for such a massive gift. It felt wrong. Days bled into a week. Financial advisors, estate managers, security details, a parade of serious faces telling me what I owned, what I couldn't do, what I had to learn. I barely slept. The house felt less like a home and more like a very expensive cage. Every shadow seemed to hold a secret. Every silence felt like it was listening. I tried to read the papers Mr. Hayes had given me, the copies of Philemon's will, but the legal words swam before my eyes. I only saw my name over and over next to sums I couldn't grasp. One morning, as I sat staring out a window, a new set of cars pulled up. Not the sleek black sedans I was getting used to, but a convoy of much more powerful, important-looking vehicles. My new security detail stiffened. Eleanor and Mr. Hayes appeared quickly, their faces grim. Then she stepped out. She was tall, with light, almost silver blonde hair pulled back in a severe ponytail. Her eyes, the color of ice, swept over the house, then landed on me. She wore a sharp suit that didn't crumple, not a single wrinkle. She looked like she belonged here, like she owned this place. Next to her, a man with a stern face carried a briefcase. Eleanor stepped forward, her voice low. Miss Davis, this is Jessica Vance. Mr. Philemon Vance's niece. Jessica Vance. The name sent a chill down my spine. Her gaze was like a physical touch, cold and probing. She walked towards me, not a friendly walk, but a measured, predatory advance. Her expression was completely blank, yet I felt a storm brewing behind those pale eyes. So, you're Janet Davis, she said, her voice surprisingly soft, but with an accent I couldn't place and an edge that cut like glass. She looked me up and down, from my new, expensive, and uncomfortable clothes to my still uncertain posture. The lucky nurse's assistant. The one who supposedly charmed my uncle into giving her everything. She didn't smile. I've done my research, Miss Davis. Janet Davis, born in Riverwood, parents divorced when you were 5, worked 2 jobs through college, never missed a shift, always pays your bills, eventually. My face burned. How did she know all that? My whole life laid bare. It felt dirty, exposed. I didn't charm anyone, I said, my voice rising a little. Your uncle, he was just kind. He saw my shoes. Jessica let out a short, humorless laugh. It grated. My uncle, Philemon, was many things. Kind, in the way a cat is kind to a mouse it plans to play with. He was also fiercely intelligent and deeply, deeply suspicious of everyone. He built a $42 billion empire by seeing through people, not by being fooled by a tear in a shoe. Her eyes narrowed. You expect me to believe you met him once, for a few minutes, and he decided to hand over his entire life's work? The empire I've been groomed to inherit since I was a child? The empire I deserve. Her voice hardened, losing its earlier softness. Don't insult my intelligence, Miss Davis. Or my uncle's. There's a missing piece here. A very big, very ugly piece. The man with the briefcase stepped forward. Ms. Vance has filed a petition to contest the will on multiple grounds, Ms. Davis, he said, his voice flat. Undue influence, fraud, blackmail. The list is quite extensive. Blackmail. Fraud. The words hit me hard, like being slapped across the face. My breath caught in my chest. This wasn't just about money anymore. This was about my name, my character. About everything I was. My simple, honest life was being twisted into something ugly and false. I didn't do any of that, I whispered, feeling the strength drain from my legs again. This was the real trap. The fortune wasn't a gift, it was an accusation. My simple, honest life was being used against me. This wasn't about being rich. This was about being fought, exposed, and accused of terrible things. And the cold, sharp eyes of Jessica Vance told me she wouldn't stop until she stripped me bare. The fortune wasn't just a target, it was a weapon pointed right at me. And I had no idea how to fight back. I didn't do any of that, I whispered, feeling the strength drain from my legs again. This was the real trap. The fortune wasn't a gift, it was an accusation. My simple, honest life was being twisted into something ugly and false. This wasn't about being rich. This was about being fought, exposed, and accused of terrible things. And the cold, sharp eyes of Jessica Vance told me she wouldn't stop until she stripped me bare. The fortune wasn't just a target, it was a weapon pointed right at me. And I had no idea how to fight back. Eleanor stepped between us, her voice firm. Ms. Vance, your legal team is welcome to present your case. But these accusations are baseless and offensive to Ms. Davis. Jessica just tilted her head, a small, knowing smile touching her lips. Baseless? My uncle, who avoided all human contact, suddenly decides to make a complete stranger his heir? A stranger who, by pure chance, happens to be a struggling nurse's assistant? The timing, Ms. Hayes, is just a little too perfect, wouldn't you agree? She didn't wait for an answer, her gaze piercing me again. You see, Ms. Davis, my uncle was a man of patterns. He never did anything without a reason. And a $42 billion reason needs more than a hole in a shoe. My mind raced, trying to find words, any words, to defend myself. But what could I say? Everything she said, twisted, made a dark kind of sense. The sheer absurdity of it all. I was a struggling nurse's assistant. I did meet him only once. My life was turned upside down by chance. Mr. Hayes, who had been silent until now, finally spoke. Ms. Vance, we advise you to cease direct communication with our client. All further discussions will be through legal channels. His voice was low, but carried a weight that made Jessica pause for a fraction of a second. She gave a small shrug. As you wish. But her eyes never left mine, delivering a silent promise of war. Then she turned, a whirlwind of sharp angles and expensive fabric, and walked out, her lawyers trailing behind her like loyal soldiers. The house suddenly felt cold, even colder than before. Eleanor put a hand on my arm. Janet, are you all right? I pulled away, shaking my head. No, I'm not. She knows too much. How does she know about my parents? About everything. Mr. Hayes stepped forward, his face serious. Mr. Vance was a powerful man, Janet. He had access to vast resources. If he was considering you for such a large inheritance, it's not surprising he had you vetted. Jessica would have also used those resources to investigate you once the will was known. Vetted. I repeated, the words sounding clinical and scary. So, he dug through my whole life? For what? To make sure I was poor enough to appreciate his money. A wave of anger, hot and unexpected, washed over me. It felt like an invasion, a violation. This wasn't kindness. This was something else. That night, sleep was impossible. Every creak of the old house, every whisper of the wind against the glass, sent shivers down my spine. Jessica's words echoed. Asterisk, he never did anything without a reason. Asterisk, what was Philemon's reason? Was she right? Was I being played? The next day, the news exploded. Pictures of me, blurry old photos from my social media, were plastered everywhere. Nurse inherits billions, heiress or hustler, one headline screamed. My simple life, twisted into a media circus. That's when my old phone, the one they told me not to use, buzzed. I saw Maria's name flash across the screen. My heart leaped. I hadn't called her. I hadn't even told her. Against Eleanor's advice, I grabbed the old phone. Maria would be worried sick. But it wasn't Maria's usual bubbly message. It was a picture. A picture of her small apartment building with a red circle drawn around her window. Below it, a single line of text from an unknown number. Asterisk, some people you care about might be in danger if you don't stop. Asterisk. My breath hitched. My hands shook so hard I almost dropped the phone. Maria. My best friend, my only family, was being threatened. This wasn't just about Philemon's money anymore, or Jessica's anger. This was real danger. Someone was watching Maria. Someone knew about her. Someone wanted me to back off, or else. A cold, hard knot formed in my stomach. I looked at the picture again, then at the vast, silent house around me. This wasn't a gift. It was a trap, a lure, and now it was putting Maria in harm's way. My choice was no longer about my comfort or my fear. It was about Maria's safety. I found Eleanor and Mr. Hayes in the makeshift office they'd set up. I shoved the phone at them, my voice tight with panic. Look at this. Someone threatened Maria. My friend. They know where she lives. Eleanor's face went pale as she read the message. Mr. Hayes immediately got on a secure line, speaking in hushed, urgent tones. He called the head of my new security detail, Mark. Mark, the silent man who had driven me from my old apartment, entered the room a moment later. He was taller than I remembered, with a calm, watchful gaze that seemed to miss nothing. He had a strong, quiet way about him. His eyes, dark and steady, met mine. We'll send a team to Ms. Maria's residence immediately, Mark said, his voice deep and reassuring. Full protection. We'll get her somewhere safe. No, I said, my voice shaking, but firm. No more waiting. No more hiding. I won't let Maria get hurt because of this mess. I'm not giving up. I'm fighting back. My mind was suddenly clear. The fear for Maria had burned away the confusion. This inheritance, this target, was now my problem to fix. Not just for myself, but for her. This was my point of no return. Mark simply nodded, a flicker of something in his eyes. Respect, perhaps? That made me feel a tiny bit less alone. Good, Mr. Hayes said, hanging up his call. Because Ms. Vance's team just pushed for an emergency hearing. They want a judge to freeze the assets and appoint an interim trustee. They're claiming you're a flight risk, or that you'll squander the estate. Eleanor added, and this morning, a different firm, representing a major tech rival of Philemon's company, sent feelers. They're interested in buying a significant chunk of the company if the estate becomes unsettled. The threats were coming from all sides now. Jessica was one problem, but this was bigger. Corporate rivals, shadowy figures threatening Maria. Philemon's fortune wasn't just a target, it was a battleground. Later that evening, Mark found me staring out the huge window of my bedroom, watching the security lights sweep across the manicured grounds. My mind kept replaying Maria's apartment picture. Your friend will be safe, Miss Davis, he said, his voice low. He stood a respectful distance away, his presence a solid comfort. Janet, I corrected him, turning to face him. Please, call me Janet. He nodded. This whole thing, it's crazy. I don't understand any of it. Why me? What did Philemon want? He paused, then took a step closer. My team worked for Mr. Vance for a long time. He was complex. He saw things differently than most people. Mark gestured vaguely to the empty room. He hated empty gestures. Every action had meaning. He looked at me, really looked. He trusted you. He must have seen something in you that mattered. More than money, maybe. His words, simple and direct, hit something inside me. They weren't legal speak or media hype. They were just true. It made me feel less like a pawn and more like a person. We stood in silence for a moment, the hum of the house the only sound. His eyes held a steady warmth that cut through the paranoia. For the first time since this nightmare began, I felt a flicker of connection, a shared understanding with someone. A strange feeling of a safe haven in the middle of a storm. He had an office in the West Wing, Mark continued, breaking the quiet. Always locked. No one went in without his direct word. But it was always cleaned by the same woman every Tuesday. Mr. Vance was out then. She said he left a small, handwritten note on his desk every time, for her, about where to dust. Very specific. A note. I asked, intrigued despite myself. Why are you telling me this? Mark met my gaze. He left a lot of things hidden in plain sight. He liked puzzles. If he chose you for a reason. Maybe he left you clues, not just money. He lowered his voice. The will was signed 3 days before he died. What if he knew something was going to happen? What if he was trying to tell you something? A chill ran down my spine, but it wasn't from fear. It was from a sudden, stark realization. Philemon Vance, the man who bought me coffee, had planned this. Not just the inheritance, but the chaos, the questions. He didn't just leave me a fortune, he left me a riddle. And I was meant to solve it. This changed everything. It wasn't about being a victim. It was about becoming a detective. The next morning, I faced Eleanor and Mr. Hayes with a new resolve. I want to fight this, I told them, my voice steady. Jessica, the lawsuits, the threats. All of it. I want to understand why Philemon did this. And I want to protect Maria. Eleanor looked at me, a hint of surprise in her eyes. It will be a difficult, public fight, Janet. There will be constant scrutiny. Every detail of your life will be put under a microscope. Good, I said, a fire burning inside me. Let them look. They won't find anything because there's nothing to find. But I'm not running. Philemon gave me something, and he clearly expected me to figure it out. I'm not letting him down. And I'm not letting Maria down. Mr. Hayes nodded slowly. Very well. We will proceed with the strongest possible defense. But understand, Janet, this fight is just the beginning. Philemon Vance made many powerful enemies. Becoming his heir means inheriting those enemies too. And his secrets. I knew it wouldn't be easy. The thought of all the challenges ahead still made my stomach clench. But the fear had changed. It wasn't paralyzing anymore. It was a cold, driving force. I had to understand Philemon, not just for myself, but for Maria and to clear my name. The vast house no longer felt like a cage. It felt like a command center. I had to learn how to play this game. And I had a feeling Mark, with his quiet strength and cryptic insights, might be the first piece I needed on my team. The idea of him by my side, not just as a guard but as someone who saw me, brought a strange, unexpected warmth to my chest. This battle was mine, and I was finally ready to fight. The next morning, the vast house felt less like a prison and more like a place where I needed to dig in. My fear for Maria had set a fire inside me, burning away the helpless feeling. Eleanor and Mr. Hayes were already at the breakfast table, going over papers. I sat down, the scent of coffee doing little to calm my nerves. The emergency hearing is set for tomorrow afternoon, Mr. Hayes announced, not looking up from a document. Jessica's team is arguing you lack the experience to manage such an estate. They'll try to paint you as a simple, easily fooled nurse. I gritted my teeth. Let them try. What about Maria? Eleanor smiled, a rare, gentle expression. Mark's team moved her last night. She's in a secure location, with full protection. She called this morning, a bit overwhelmed, but safe. She sounded like she wanted to give you an earful about not calling her first. A huge weight lifted from my chest, letting me breathe properly for the first time in days. Maria was safe. That was all that mattered. Good, I whispered, relief making my voice thick. Thank you. Later that day, the house felt heavy with unspoken truths. I couldn't shake Mark's words about Philemon's West Wing office, the notes, the puzzles. It pulled at me. I found Mark overseeing some new security cameras being installed near the main entrance. He turned when I approached, his dark eyes meeting mine. "I want to see Philemon's office," I told him, my voice steady. "The one in the West Wing. You said he left notes there." He paused, then nodded slowly. "It's still sealed. No one has been inside since, well, since before he passed. The legal team wanted to keep it untouched for inventory." "I don't care," I said, looking him straight in the eye. "I need to go in. If he left me clues, I need to find them." Mark gave a small, almost imperceptible smile. "I had a feeling you would say that, Janet." He led me through a maze of quiet hallways, the scent of old wood and dust hanging in the air. The West Wing felt different, colder, as if it held more secrets. We stopped before a heavy oak door. Mark produced a small device and ran it over the lock, a soft green light blinking. He then carefully picked the lock in a way that looked easy, but I knew was not. The click echoed loudly in the silence. He pushed the door open, stepping aside for me. The room was large, filled with dark, heavy furniture, a huge desk in the center. Bookshelves lined the walls, crammed with old, leather-bound books and strange, intricate objects I couldn't make sense of. The air was stale, like a place that hadn't seen life in a long time. Dust motes danced in the slivers of sunlight that pushed through the heavy curtains. I walked to the desk, running my fingers over the smooth, cold wood. There were stacks of neat papers, a fancy pen set, and a large, old-fashioned world globe. Nothing looked out of place, no obvious notes. "He was very particular," Mark said, his voice low, as if not to disturb the quiet of the room. Everything had its place. I circled the desk, my eyes scanning every surface. Mark watched me, his presence a solid, comforting anchor in the strange room. It felt less like a guard and more like a partner. I noticed a small, leather-bound diary tucked under a stack of financial reports. It looked out of place, almost hidden. My fingers trembled as I pulled it out. It wasn't a diary, not really. It was a notebook, filled with Philemon's neat, spidery handwriting. Most of it was numbers and complex diagrams I couldn't understand. But then, on one page, a single entry stood out, written in a different, bolder hand. It was a name, *Orion Star. And underneath it, a string of what looked like random letters and numbers, *7G12X.4F9*. "Orion," I whispered. "What is that?" Mark leaned closer, his shoulder brushing mine. His scent, clean and faintly metallic, was suddenly very close. Orion is a star group, a constellation. But it's also a code name for things in the tech world. A project, a company, a server farm even. He pointed to the numbers. "This looks like a system access code or maybe coordinates." My heart hammered. This felt like it. The first real clue. A puzzle piece. Could this be it? What he wanted me to find? Just as I asked, a sudden, piercing alarm blared through the house. It was a harsh, insistent shriek that made me jump, my hand flying to my chest. Mark spun around, his hand instinctively going to the small of his back, where I knew he kept a weapon. "Perimeter breach, West Garden," a cold, mechanical voice announced over an intercom hidden in the wall. "Intruder detected." My breath hitched. We were in the West Wing. My eyes darted to the window, then back to Mark. "Someone's here," I gasped. He grabbed my arm, his grip firm but gentle. "Stay close. We need to get you somewhere safe." He moved with a swift, silent grace that was both alarming and strangely reassuring. He pulled me behind a large, heavy curtain, pressing me against the wall. The notebook was still clutched in my hand. Heavy footsteps pounded down the hallway outside, growing closer. My blood ran cold. This wasn't a game anymore. This was a real, immediate threat. I could hear voices now, muffled but angry, outside the door. Then a loud thud, as if something heavy had hit the door. "They're trying to get in," I whispered, my voice barely audible. Mark's face was grim. "Stay absolutely still, Janet. Don't make a sound." He moved away from me, his body tense, ready. He took up a position near the door, his movements silent as a cat. I watched him, my heart in my throat, feeling exposed and terrified, yet also a strange calm watching him prepare. He was ready to protect me. The door burst open with a splintering crash. Two large men, their faces covered with dark masks, stormed in. One held a crowbar, the other a heavy, blunt object. They scanned the room, their eyes narrowed. Mark moved before they could even fully register him. He was a blur of motion, precise and deadly. He disarmed the crowbar-wielding man with a swift move, twisting his arm, then slamming him into the bookshelf. The other man lunged, but Mark met him with a swift kick that sent him stumbling back, crashing into the desk. It was over in seconds. Mark stood over the two downed men, his chest rising and falling evenly, his eyes hard and focused. He hadn't even drawn his weapon. He was a force of nature. "Are you hurt?" he asked, turning to me, his voice calm despite the chaos. I shook my head, my breath coming in ragged gasps. "No, I'm okay." I stepped out from behind the curtain, clutching the notebook tighter. My legs felt like jelly. Just then, his radio crackled to life. "Mark, perimeter secure. 2 suspects apprehended. They're professional. We're patching you into command." He spoke into his wrist. "Got 2 more in Vance's office. Cleanup crew needed. And forensic. They were after something specific, I think." He looked at me, a silent question in his eyes, knowing I held the notebook. Suddenly, a voice boomed from the hidden intercom again, but this time it was Eleanor's, strained and urgent. "Janet, Mr. Hayes just received an anonymous tip. The judge for your hearing tomorrow, he just recused himself. Said there was a conflict of interest, something about a past business deal with Vance years ago. They're calling for a whole new panel, delaying everything by weeks. Jessica's team is already spinning it as a victory, saying it shows your influence is already tainting the courts." My shoulders slumped. This was the false resolution. I had found a clue, Mark had fought off the intruders, and for a moment, I felt like I was gaining control. Now, the rug was pulled out from under me. The fight was being dragged out, the pressure mounting. Jessica was winning the public battle. I looked down at the notebook in my hand. Orion. Was this what they were after? Did they think I knew what it meant? Mark moved to my side, gently taking the notebook. He flipped it open to the page with Orion. He studied it, then looked at the silent intercom, then back to me. His expression was a mixture of concern and grim determination. "This changes things," he said, his voice quiet. "They didn't just want to scare you, Janet. They wanted this. And someone knows you found it." A cold dread seeped into my bones, deeper than the fear of the masked men. It was the dread of being watched, of every move being anticipated. The house, which had felt like a command center moments ago, now felt like a very expensive, very exposed target. The notebook, which had felt like a key, now felt like bait. I looked at Mark, his steady presence the only thing making sense in the chaos. His eyes met mine, a silent promise there. I felt a surge of something warm, something protective, wash over me. He was risking his life for me for this. This shared danger was forging a bond one hadn't known I needed, or even wanted. This wasn't just about money, or even Maria anymore. It was about survival. And I knew, with a certainty that chilled me to the bone, that the game had just turned even deadlier. And Orion was at the heart of it all. I had to figure out what it meant. And fast. The house suddenly felt too big, too loud, too dangerous. The alarm had stopped, replaced by the hushed voices of Mark's team dealing with the intruders. But the cold announcement from Eleanor about the judge echoed in my ears, louder than any siren. Jessica was playing a different game, a long game, and I was losing ground. I clutched the notebook, its strange symbols and the name Orion feeling heavier than lead. Mark stood close, the air around him still charged, ready for another fight. His eyes, usually so guarded, held a flicker of something raw, something that mirrored the fear in my own heart. The memory of him moving, a blur of strength and danger, to protect me, settled deep inside. In this crazy house, with a fortune I didn't ask for, he was the one solid thing. "They wanted this notebook," I said, my voice shaky. "That's why they broke in. Not just to scare me." He nodded, his gaze fixed on the page with Orion. "Someone knew you'd come here, knew Philemon had left clues. And they knew what kind of clue." He took my hand, his fingers warm and rough, pulling the notebook gently from my grasp. He didn't take his eyes off the strange letters. "This isn't just about money anymore, Janet. This is about power. And secrets that people kill for." My breath hitched. Secrets Philemon knew? Secrets Philemon created, Mark corrected, his voice low. He didn't just build a tech empire. He built a lot of hidden things underneath it. And Orion, that's one of the biggest. He looked at me then, really looked at me. His grip on my hand tightened, a silent question in his eyes. A promise, maybe, or a warning. In that moment, with the chaos outside the door and the weight of the world on my shoulders, I felt a desperate pull toward him. He was danger and safety, all at once. My gaze searched his, finding a vulnerability there I hadn't expected. I leaned in, drawn by the quiet strength, and he met me halfway, his lips finding mine. It was a soft touch, a desperate plea in the middle of fear, a silent understanding passing between us. My hands found his shoulders, clinging to him like a lifeline in the storm. "We have to figure this out," I whispered against his lips, my heart hammering a frantic rhythm. "Before someone else gets hurt. Before Maria." I couldn't finish the thought. He pulled back slightly, his eyes still locked with mine. "We will. Together." His words were a shield, a comfort I desperately needed. This code, 7G12X.4F9, it's too specific. It's not just a general access code. It points to something very particular, deep in Philemon's network. Something he didn't want found easily. How do we even start? I asked, feeling overwhelmed. The kiss, the moment of shared intimacy, had calmed some of my fear, replacing it with a strange resolve. "We need a secure place, away from here," Mark said, his eyes scanning the office one last time, as if looking for hidden cameras. "The main house has been watched. But Philemon had other places. Small, safe spots. Places only a few people knew about." He led me out of the office, past the mess of splintered wood and the now-bound intruders being led away by his team. We walked quickly through the winding hallways, the silent house feeling like a tomb. He took me down a servant's staircase I hadn't known existed, then through a dimly lit tunnel that smelled of damp earth and old stone. It felt like stepping into another world, away from the opulence and the danger. The tunnel opened into a small, plain room, almost like a bunker. It had a single heavy steel door, a small table, 2 chairs, and a blinking screen on one wall. On the table sat a single, old-fashioned flip phone and a small, sealed envelope. This was one of his bolt holes, Mark explained, pointing to the screen. Direct link to a secure server. Only activated when he was in here. He used it for sensitive work. He picked up the flip phone. "And this is for emergencies. Untraceable." He tore open the envelope. Inside was a single, laminated card. On it was a complex series of numbers and letters, ending with Orion Secure. My heart leaped. "Is this it?" Another clue. Mark compared the card to the notebook. "Look at this," he said, tracing the numbers on the card. "It's a key. A master key, maybe. And the Orion here, it's like a confirmation. It tells us we're on the right track." He typed some of the numbers into the screen. Lines of code, a flurry of green text, began to scroll rapidly. Then it paused, and a simple question appeared, "Identify Orion." Mark looked at me. "This is it, Janet. Philemon wanted someone to find this, to answer this. What do you think Orion is?" I thought back to everything. The strange kindness, the massive fortune, the hidden projects. What was the real reason? "A project," I offered. "A hidden company. Something powerful." Mark shook his head slowly. "Think deeper, Janet. Beyond the money, beyond the power." What was Philemon obsessed with? I closed my eyes, trying to picture the old man, his disheveled look, his cryptic words. "Dignity of service," I whispered. He talked about it. My worn shoes. He saw something in me, something he valued beyond wealth. Mark's eyes narrowed, a strange expression on his face. He typed my words into the screen. "Dignity of service." The screen flashed, then zoomed in on a single word, Orion, Project Veneraire. Below it, a new question appeared, "Identify Subject V." Veneraire. I mumbled, feeling a chill. "What does that mean?" "It's Latin," Mark said, his voice flat. "It means to worship or to revere. Project Veneraire. Project Worship." My stomach dropped. Worship? But who would Philemon worship? Mark didn't answer right away. He stared at the screen, then at the notebook in his hand, then at me. His jaw was tight. "Janet," he said, his voice sounding different now, colder. "You're wrong about Philemon. About everything." "What are you talking about?" I asked, a knot of dread tightening in my chest. The intimacy, the trust, felt like it was dissolving into thin air. He stepped back, a subtle distance forming between us. "Philemon wasn't observing the dignity of your service. He was observing you." For months. My blood ran cold. "What?" "The coffee shop. Not random. He picked it because you went there every day. He knew about your worn shoes, about your job, about Maria. He knew everything." Mark's eyes, usually so comforting, now held a glint of something I couldn't quite place. Regret, maybe, or a steely resolve. "He didn't just notice you. He chose you." "Chose me for what?" My voice was barely a whisper. This wasn't real. This was a nightmare. The kiss, the bond, felt like a cruel joke. "For Project Veneraire," Mark said, looking at the screen. "You are Subject V." My mind reeled. I don't understand." He opened the notebook again, flipping to a different section, one filled with more numbers and complex diagrams. Philemon believed that true human potential, true leadership, couldn't be found in the wealthy or the powerful. He believed it was forged in struggle, in selfless service. He believed people like you, who put others first despite their own hardship, were the purest form of humanity. The ones worthy of veneration. The ones who, if given ultimate power, would use it for good. He spent decades looking for someone like you. Testing candidates. Filtering. Watching me. The idea made my skin crawl. Every moment of unexpected kindness, every little struggle, every private worry, he had known. He had watched. He didn't just give you his fortune, Janet. He set you up. He created a real-world experiment. He thrust you into a world of power and danger to see if you would rise or fall. To see if his theory was right. And if you failed, if you broke, he had contingency plans. Others in line. Jessica wasn't groomed to inherit. She was groomed to test you, to be the first obstacle. Her lawyers, the media circus, the challenges to the will, all part of the design. The world tilted. Jessica. Her unsettling knowledge of my life. Her ruthlessness. It suddenly made a horrifying, twisted sense. She wasn't an enemy born of greed. She was an instrument of Philemon's grand design. And I was the subject. The rat in the maze. "And you?" I asked, the word tearing from my throat. "What are you in this project?" Mark looked away, his jaw working. I was Philemon's head of security. His most trusted operative. My job wasn't just to protect him. It was to protect the project. To guide you, to observe you. To ensure you had a chance to prove his theory. He turned back to me, his eyes filled with a pain that felt too real, too human, to be a lie. When he died, the project became mine. To see through. My heart splintered. The surge of warmth, the shared danger, the desperate kiss. It was all a part of the act. He had been playing a role, guiding me like a puppet. The man who had risked his life for me, the man I had started to trust above anyone else, was simply another one of Philemon's tools. My only anchor in this terrifying new world had just pulled away, dragging me down with it. "You knew," I whispered, the words tasting like ash. "All of it. You knew." He nodded, a single, agonizing confirmation. "Yes, I knew." The steel door to the bunker suddenly felt heavy, suffocating. I was trapped. Not just in a room, but in a lie, a grand, cruel experiment. The fortune wasn't a gift, it was a cage. And the man who had promised to protect me, to figure things out together, was the one holding the key. "Identify Subject V." The screen still glowed, a mocking question. It wasn't asking for my name. It was asking for my worth. And suddenly, my biggest fear wasn't about losing the money or even my life. It was about losing myself, becoming just a number in Philemon's sick game. Maria. She was the most important thing. If I was just a subject, what did that make her? A pawn? This twisted game, this Project Veneraire, threatened to swallow everything I held dear, everything I thought I was. I was alone. more alone than I had ever been. And the game had just begun. The anger came first, hot and fast, scorching away the fear. A game? I choked out, my voice raw. My life isn't a game, Mark. Maria's life isn't a game. Tears welled, not from sadness, but a burning, desperate fury. The intimacy we'd shared, the relief in his arms, twisted into something ugly and false. He took a step towards me, his hand reaching out. Janet, it's not like that. It's complicated. Complicated? I slapped his hand away. The sting was nothing compared to the pain ripping through my chest. You watched me. You guided me. You let me believe you cared. You kissed me. Was that part of the experiment too? To see how easily you could manipulate someone desperate for a shred of decency. His face tightened. The kiss wasn't part of the project. That was real for me. His eyes pleaded, but I couldn't look at them. All I saw was Philemon's cold, calculating gaze, reflected in the man who pretended to be my savior. Real? I scoffed, a bitter laugh escaping my lips. Nothing about this is real, is it? Philemon didn't care about dignity. He cared about power. And you're just another one of his puppets, pulling my strings. My voice rose, bouncing off the stark bunker walls. He didn't give me a fortune, Mark. He cursed me. He made me a target, and you're helping him do it from the grave. He ran a hand over his face, looking older, wearier. I know how it sounds. I know what you must think. But Philemon believed in a greater good. He believed you were the key to it. The key to what? More control? More manipulation. I gestured wildly at the blinking screen. Project Worship? Is he God now? Did he think he could just play with people's lives, destroy them, all for some grand idea? My thoughts raced, tumbling over each other. Maria. Always Maria. What about Maria? Was she part of the plan too? A vulnerability for you to exploit. Mark flinched. No, never Maria. Philemon had strict rules against involving family, especially children. Her safety was paramount. My primary directive was to keep you, and by extension Maria, safe from the negative aspects of the project. From people like Jessica, from anyone trying to stop Philemon's vision. But Jessica isn't trying to stop it, is she? I challenged. The pieces of Philemon's twisted game fell into place. She's part of it. Another one of his tests. A shark unleashed to see if I can swim. He didn't deny it. Yes, Philemon believed true leadership emerged from overcoming adversity. Jessica was designed to be that adversity. A formidable opponent, but one you were meant to conquer. So, I'm supposed to fight for my life, my freedom, my sanity, just to prove some dead man's theory? I stared at the screen, at the words identify subject V. And if I don't? What then, Mark? Do I fail the test? Do you just find another subject V to throw into the lion's den? He walked to the screen, his back to me, his shoulders slumped. It's not that simple, Janet. Philemon anticipated every outcome. If subject V failed or refused, the project would activate different protocols. Protocols that are far less predictable, far more dangerous for everyone involved. What kind of protocols? My voice was barely a whisper now, the rage giving way to a cold, creeping fear. He turned, his eyes grim. Corporate rivals, government agencies, syndicates, they all know about Project Veneraire in pieces. They know Philemon was working on something big, something that could shift global power. They don't know what it is, or who is at the center of it. But if the project isn't activated by the chosen subject V, if the legitimate heir doesn't step up and take control, then those protocols kick in. His entire empire, his research, his data, it all gets flagged. A massive, global power vacuum. And they will come for it. They will tear it apart, and anyone even remotely connected to it will be caught in the crossfire. Anyone? The word echoed in the small room. My blood ran cold. He nodded slowly. Anyone. Including Maria. If you refuse, if you walk away, Maria won't be safe. Not from Jessica, not from the others who will scavenge what Philemon left behind. They'll trace her to you. They'll know she's your weakness. You'll be stripped of everything, and Maria will be left unprotected, a potential pawn in a global struggle for Philemon's secrets. My legs felt weak. I sank into one of the chairs. This wasn't a choice between wealth and a normal life. This was a choice between becoming a puppet in Philemon's game or watching Maria suffer unimaginable consequences. He had trapped me. Trapped us both. So I have to play along, I said, the words tasting like ash. I have to pretend I'm this great leader, this Subject V, just to keep Maria safe. You don't have to pretend, Mark said, his voice softer, but no less firm. Philemon chose you because he saw that potential. He believed you are that leader. You've already shown it. You fought the intruders, you stood up to Jessica, you're trying to protect Maria. He engineered all of it. I spat, tears finally spilling down my cheeks. He didn't find a leader. He created a crisis to force one out. This isn't about me. It's about his twisted ego. Just then, the small flip phone on the table buzzed. Mark snatched it up, his face paling as he listened. He ended the call quickly. What is it? I asked, my heart pounding. Jessica, he said, his voice strained. She just filed an emergency motion with the court. She claims Maria is in immediate danger due to your unstable mental state and the unforeseen dangers of the inheritance. She's requesting temporary custody, citing Philemon's will, which had a clause about protecting vulnerable dependents. What? I shot up, my chair scraping loudly against the floor. She can't. Maria is with my sister. Your sister lives in an apartment with a single lock. Jessica has the best lawyers money can buy. She's painting you as overwhelmed, reckless, a danger to Maria. She's using the incidents here tonight, the security breach, as proof. She'll argue that Philemon's empire is too dangerous and you, as a simple nursing assistant, are incapable of protecting Maria from its consequences. She wants Maria removed from your care, placed in a more secure environment, under her supervision until the will is fully settled. My blood ran cold. Jessica found the ultimate leverage. She wasn't just after the money, she was after Maria. This was a direct, devastating hit. My internal conflict, my moral anguish, now had terrifying external manifestation. No, I whispered, shaking my head. No, she can't have her. Maria needs me. Then we have to act, Mark said, his voice urgent. We have to prove to the court, to the world, that you are not just a suitable guardian, but the only one. We have to activate Project Veneraire. We have to show them Philemon's choice was sound. That you are in control. I looked at the glowing screen at Identify Subject V. The answer was obvious now, horrifyingly clear. I had to become Philemon's Subject V. Not for him, not for his warped vision, but for Maria. To protect her from this monster, from Jessica, from the global vultures circling Philemon's fortune. What do I type? I asked, my voice flat, devoid of emotion. The rage burned itself out, leaving only cold, hard resolve. Mark stared at me, his gaze full of something I couldn't decipher. Sorrow, admiration, perhaps a sliver of hope. Your full name, Janet. And your birthday. It's the final authentication. I walked to the screen, my fingers trembling slightly as I hovered over the keyboard. My name. My birthday. The most intimate details, now a password to a gilded cage. I typed them in, each letter a surrender, each number a step further away from the simple life I'd known. The screen flashed green, then exploded with a torrent of new information. Schematics, financial reports, blueprints for unknown technologies, encrypted messages, names of powerful people, shadowy organizations. It was a deluge of power, a nexus of secrets, all linked to me. The sheer scale of it was dizzying. And then, a new message flashed, bold and bright. Project Veneraire activated. Subject V confirmed. Welcome, Janet. A heavy sigh escaped me. Welcome. It felt more like a damnation. Mark watched the screen, his expression unreadable. It's done, he said quietly. Now we fight. I looked at him, truly looked at him, for the first time since his confession. The man who had risked his life for me, who had lied to me, who had guided me into this trap. Was there a sliver of the real Mark in there, beneath the operative? Or was he just a very good actor? It didn't matter anymore. He was a piece of this terrible game. A piece I had to use, even if I couldn't trust. We need to get Maria, I said, my voice steady despite the tremor inside me. First thing. Before Jessica can lay a hand on her. He nodded, a flicker of that familiar protective instinct in his eyes. My team is already en route to your sisters. They'll have her here, safe, before dawn. My sisters. The familiar, comforting apartment, now tainted by the reach of this insane inheritance. Maria. My only anchor. She would be safe, but at what cost? I felt a profound sense of loss, like a part of my soul had been chipped away. The love I felt for Maria, once a simple, pure thing, was now tangled with this dark, dangerous power. My path was set, but it led into the deepest shadows. I knew, with chilling certainty, I would emerge from this transformed, or not at all. The battle for my life, for Maria's life, had truly begun. And I was standing in the eye of a storm, completely alone. The green light from the screen burned into my eyes, a silent scream of "Welcome, Janet," that felt like a curse. My own name. My own birthday. I had just signed away my old life, and perhaps my soul, to a dead man's twisted game. The fury was gone, replaced by a hollow ache, but underneath it, a tiny ember of something fierce glowed. Maria. Mark had already turned from the screen, his phone pressed to his ear again. His voice was low, urgent. I couldn't make out the words, but the tension in the room was a living thing, thick and suffocating. The silence after he hung up was even worse. "They're almost here," he said, without looking at me. "Your sister's building is being secured now. Maria will be with us soon." Relief washed over me, hot and dizzying, then immediately turned to ice. Safe, but here. In this gilded cage, surrounded by secrets and danger. This wasn't home. This would never be home. We waited, an eternity measured in the frantic thumping of my heart. Every creak of the old house, every distant siren, made me jump. I kept picturing Maria's face, her sweet smile, her bright eyes. Would those eyes look at me differently now? Would she sense the dark currents swirling around me? Then, the soft hum of an electric car pulling up outside, hushed voices. Mark moved quickly to a hidden door I hadn't noticed before, tucked into a wall panel. He opened it, revealing a small, lit hallway. Footsteps approached, hurried but careful. And then Maria. She walked in, blinking in the soft light, looking small and confused, clutching a worn teddy bear. My sister, Brenda, followed right behind her, her eyes wide with fear and anger as she took in my surroundings, the controlled chaos of Mark's team members who had escorted them. "Mama." Maria's voice was a shaky whisper. She ran to me, her little arms wrapping around my waist, burying her face in my clothes. I held her tight, squeezing my eyes shut, breathing in the scent of her hair, of baby shampoo and comfort. This was real. She was real. My anchor in the storm. "Janet, what is going on?" Brenda's voice was sharp, a desperate plea. She looked at Mark, then at the tech equipment, her face pale. "Who are these people? Why did they take Maria? They said you were in danger." "Brenda, it's complicated," I began, but the words felt hollow. How could I explain any of this? The billionaire, the inheritance, the dark projects, the threat of Jessica? It sounded insane. Mark stepped forward, his expression calm and reassuring. "Miss Hayes, my name is Mark. I work for Janet. Your niece is safe. We moved her for her own protection." "Protection from what?" Brenda retorted, her gaze sweeping the room, suspicion hardening her features. "This isn't protection. This is kidnapping. My apartment was fine." "Jessica filed an emergency motion for temporary custody of Maria," I said, my voice flat. "She's using everything against me. My unstable mental state, the security breach tonight. She wants to take Maria away." Brenda gasped, her hand flying to her mouth. Her anger turned to a raw, terrified understanding. "That woman? The one on TV? She wants Maria." I nodded, clutching Maria tighter. "She won't get her." Mark cleared his throat. "Janet is correct. We have a very small window to counter Jessica's motion. We need to present a united front, show the court that Janet is not only capable of caring for Maria, but is also in full control of Philemon's assets, making her the primary protector." "How do we do that?" I asked, looking up at him. "I don't know anything about any of this. I just typed my name into a computer." "That was the first step," Mark said, his eyes scanning the glowing screen. "The next step is to make a public statement. A powerful one. One that shows you are not the simple nursing assistant Jessica is trying to paint you as. You need to show them you are Philemon's chosen heir, ready to take the reins. A statement? What kind of statement? My stomach churned. I hated public attention. Hated lies. Philemon left specific instructions for this scenario. Mark continued, ignoring Brenda's bewildered expression. He anticipated Jessica's moves. There is a press conference already set for early this morning in less than 2 hours. It was prepared as a contingency. All the world leaders, all the major media outlets will be watching. A press conference? I whispered, my voice thick with disbelief. Me? Talking to the world? What do I even say? You will announce your acceptance of Philemon's inheritance and the continuation of Project Veneraire, Mark stated, his voice devoid of emotion. You will announce that you understand its importance and are fully committed to its mission. You will make it clear that any attempts to destabilize the company or to remove you as the rightful heir will be met with the full force of Philemon's legal and financial power. My head spun. But I don't know what Project Veneraire is. And I can't just lie to the world. You won't be lying, Mark said, his gaze unwavering. You are Subject V. You are committed. You just need to speak it into existence. This isn't about honesty, Janet. It's about perception. It's about leverage. It's about protecting Maria. Brenda stepped forward, her face etched with concern. Janet, don't do this. This sounds like a trap. What if Philemon just wants you to be a puppet? What if this project is bad? It doesn't matter if it's bad, Brenda, I said, my voice sounding rough even to my own ears. If I don't do it, Jessica takes Maria. She won't let her go. She'll keep her in some gilded cage, away from me, away from everything she knows. The thought was a dagger to my heart. Philemon's will has a clause, Mark interjected, looking directly at me. It states that Maria's future is tied directly to the successful activation and leadership of Project Veneraire by Subject V. If Subject V fails to fully embrace the role, or if their capability is successfully challenged, Maria will be placed in a protected wardship under the supervision of a designated trustee until she comes of age. Jessica is that trustee. The words hit me like a physical blow. Philemon had anticipated everything. He hadn't just made me an heir, he'd made Maria a hostage. He'd created an impossible choice, a perfect psychological trap. My only path to protecting Maria meant becoming the very thing I feared, a pawn in Philemon's grand, dangerous scheme. So, I have to play the part, I said, the words tasting like ash. I have to pretend I understand all this, pretend I'm this ruthless businesswoman, just to keep Maria. You don't have to pretend, Janet, Mark said, his voice softer, but his eyes were still hard. Philemon saw something in you, something strong enough to face all of this. He wasn't just looking for an heir. He was looking for a guardian for his legacy, someone with inherent dignity, as he told you at the coffee shop. He believed you would protect what was important, even if it meant sacrificing what you thought you were. Sacrificing what I thought I was. The words echoed in my head. My old life. My simple dreams. My quiet dignity as a nursing assistant. All gone, traded for a crown of thorns. What if I can't do it? I whispered, my gaze falling on Maria, who was now quietly coloring in a small notebook one of Mark's team members had given her. She was so innocent, so unaware of the war raging around her. You will, Mark said with absolute certainty. Philemon knew you would. He built contingencies into everything, even for your initial hesitation. You already activated Project Veneraire. Now you simply confirm it to the world. It will solidify your legal standing against Jessica's custody motion. It will show you're in control. He walked over to a small table where a tablet lay. He picked it up and handed it to me. This is the statement. It's concise, powerful. It outlines your commitment to Philemon's vision, your dedication to upholding the principles of Project Veneraire, and a warning to any who would try to undermine his legacy. You just need to read it. My hands trembled as I took the tablet. The screen glowed, illuminating the words. They were cold, calculated, full of power and authority. Not my words. Never my words. They sounded like Philemon. Or like Jessica. And if I don't? I asked, my voice barely a whisper. If I refuse this, Charade? Mark's face tightened, losing its earlier softness. Then Jessica wins. Not just custody of Maria, but the entire fortune. Philemon's will explicitly states that if Subject V is deemed unfit or unwilling to lead, full control reverts to the designated backup trustee, who is Jessica, to ensure the project's continuity. She takes everything, including Maria, whom she will then raise as her own, grooming her to be the next puppet leader of this empire, under her control. My blood ran cold. This wasn't just about money anymore. This was about Maria's very identity. Jessica would twist her, mold her, turn her into something I wouldn't recognize. The image of Maria, manipulated by that cold, ambitious woman, was more terrifying than any threat to my own life. This was the sacrifice. Not just my old life, but my sense of self, my moral compass, perhaps even my sanity. I had to become the monster I feared, or a worse monster would claim my child. Courage born from desperation, love conquering fear. I looked at Maria, still coloring, humming a little tune. My precious girl. I would burn the world down for her. I swallowed hard, the taste of metal in my mouth. Okay, I said, my voice firm. Tell me what to do. Tell me where to stand. Tell me what to say. But understand this, Mark. I'm doing this for Maria. And if any of Philemon's vision ever puts her in real danger again, I will tear it all down, piece by piece. Do you understand? Mark nodded slowly, a strange look in his eyes, a flicker of something that might have been respect or perhaps fear. I understand, Janet. Philemon understood that too. That's why he chose you. He understood. He knew. He hadn't just seen dignity in me. He'd seen the raw, protective fire of a mother. He had built his trap around that fire. He was even more twisted than I had imagined. I turned away from Mark, back to Maria. My sister Brenda was watching me, her eyes filled with a mixture of horror and grim pride. She knew. She understood the impossible choice I was making. Brenda, take Maria to the next room, I said, my voice steady. They have some snacks, some cartoons for her. I need a minute. Brenda nodded, her gaze full of silent solidarity. She gently led Maria away. Maria looked back at me, her brow furrowed slightly. I forced a smile, a promise of safety I wasn't sure I could keep. Alone again, I took a deep breath. The tablet felt heavy in my hands, its words a blueprint for my new self. I didn't want this power. I didn't want this burden. But Maria needed me to take it. I looked at the glowing screen with Philemon's data, the Project Veneraire activated, message still blazing. I was no longer Janet, the nursing assistant. I was Subject V. I was Philemon's heir. I was Maria's shield. And I would make sure every single person who had put us in this position, starting with Jessica, understood that this was not a game for me. This was survival. And I would win. Not for wealth, but for the simple, pure love that was the only true thing left in my world. The battle for Maria's soul, and mine, had truly begun, and I was stepping onto the battlefield, armed with nothing but a mother's fury. The air in the room hummed, thick with the silent roar of 1,000 eyes. My breath hitched in my chest as Mark guided me through a maze of corridors, each step carrying me closer to the brightly lit stage. My hands, still clutching the tablet with Philemon's words, felt clammy. Maria's quiet hum echoed in my memory, a tiny anchor in this swirling storm of fear and obligation. Then, the doors opened. A wall of sound hit me, camera clicks, hushed murmurs, the frantic energy of reporters. Bright lights exploded, blinding me for a split second. I squinted, trying to make out the faces in the vast hall, but they were a blurry sea of expectant gazes. Off to the side, I saw her. Jessica. She stood flanked by her lawyers, her face a mask of cold anticipation, a slight, knowing smirk playing on her lips. She thought she had me. She thought she knew what this was. Mark steered me to a podium, its surface gleaming under the lights. My knees felt weak. My voice, I was sure, would crack. This wasn't me. This wasn't Janet, the nursing assistant who found comfort in quiet routines and helping people one by one. This was a spectacle, a performance I had no script for, beyond the words glowing on the screen in my trembling hands. I took a deep breath, letting it out slowly. I looked down at the tablet. The words were there, precise and unfeeling. They were Philemon's words, twisted into a weapon for me to wield. I cleared my throat, the microphone amplifying the small sound into something monstrous. "Good morning," I began, my voice a whisper at first, then gaining a surprising strength. "My name is Janet Lewis." I paused, letting that sink in. My name, the only thing I still truly owned. As many of you know, I have been named the unexpected heir to the fortune and empire of Philemon Vance, I continued, reading the script. This has come as a shock to me, as I am, as has been widely reported, a nursing assistant. A person who has dedicated her life to the quiet service of others. A ripple went through the crowd. Jessica's smirk faded slightly, replaced by a flicker of confusion. "There have been questions," I went on, my gaze sweeping across the room, past the reporters, past Jessica, to an imagined point where Maria might be watching. Questions about my fitness to lead, about my understanding of Philemon Vance's vision, and about the legitimacy of his final wishes. To these questions, I offer a clear and resolute answer. My voice grew stronger, each word a stone in a protective wall. I accept this inheritance. I accept the mantle of leadership. And I accept the profound responsibility that comes with it. Especially, I accept the responsibility of Project Veneraire. A buzz went through the room. Project Veneraire. The name I still didn't truly understand. But I had to sell it. For Maria. Project Veneraire, I stated, my eyes locking onto the tablet, is not a project of conquest or control. It is not about expanding a financial empire or dominating markets. Philemon Vance was a man of vision, yes, but his ultimate vision was one of profound human connection and universal well-being. I felt a strange shift within me. The words, while Philemon's, were starting to feel like my words. Like they were meant for me all along. Project Veneraire is a global initiative, I announced, the words gaining power, designed to create and implement a worldwide network for accessible, affordable, and advanced healthcare. It leverages the full scope of Vance Industries' technological innovations, from AI diagnostics to precision robotics, from sustainable energy solutions for remote clinics to decentralized data networks, all towards one singular goal: to bring world-class medical care to every corner of the planet, to every person, regardless of their economic status or geographic location. A gasp rippled through the hall. Jessica's face was now a mask of pure shock, her mouth slightly agape. This wasn't what she expected. This wasn't about power or corporate takeover. Philemon Vance believed, I continued, my voice resonating with conviction now, that true dignity is found in service. He believed that the most advanced technology should not only serve the few, but uplift the many. Project Veneraire is the culmination of his life's work, a testament to his profound belief in the inherent value of every human life and the right to health and dignity for all. The words weren't just on the tablet anymore. They were burning in my soul. This was it. This was the project Philemon had been building. It wasn't a weapon. It was a healing hand. As Subject V, as his chosen leader, I declared, my voice echoing with an authority I didn't know I possessed, I pledge myself to this mission. Vance Industries, under my guidance, will redirect its vast resources, its brilliant minds, and its global reach to make Project Veneraire a reality. We will dismantle the barriers that prevent access to care. We will empower communities. We will ensure that no child suffers from preventable illness, that no elder is left without comfort, that no life is diminished by lack of medical support. The crowd erupted. Not with anger, but with a confused, stunned applause that quickly grew into a roar. Jessica stood frozen, her face pale, her carefully constructed narrative of me as a simple, greedy pawn crumbling before her eyes. And to those who would seek to challenge this vision, I said, my gaze now sweeping directly to Jessica, who would attempt to undermine Philemon Vance's legacy or obstruct Project Veneraire's humanitarian mission, understand this. Vance Industries will deploy every legal and financial resource at its disposal to protect this project and its future. My commitment is absolute. My resolve unbreakable. I looked at Jessica, a silent challenge in my eyes. She had wanted a fight for a corporate empire. She got a fight for humanity. As the noise swelled, Mark stepped forward, placing a reassuring hand on my back. My job was done. The legal team would handle the rest, but the public perception had been irreversibly shifted. Jessica's claims of my unfitness, of a fraudulent will, would now fall on deaf ears. How could she argue against a project that promised to heal the world? Later, back in a quiet room, away from the chaos, Brenda hugged me tight. Maria, sensing the shift, ran to me, her small arms wrapping around my legs. "Mommy, you were so loud," she giggled. I knelt, holding her close, tears blurring my vision. I was sweet pea. I had to be. Mark stood by, a faint, almost imperceptible smile on his lips. "He knew, Janet," he said softly. "Philemon knew this was your project. He knew you wouldn't just manage the money, you would lead the mission. He didn't see a nursing assistant. He saw the soul of a healer. He chose you because you were the only one who truly understood the inherent dignity of service. And then it clicked. The coffee shop. The worn-out shoes. His cryptic words. He hadn't just noticed my shoes. He'd seen the weariness that came from a life of dedication, of putting others first. He hadn't just bought me coffee. He'd been performing an observation, a final test. He hadn't just left me a fortune. He'd left me a purpose. His entire empire was a tool, and he had sought out the person with the purest heart to wield it. Philemon hadn't trapped me with Maria. He had used Maria, the deepest part of my love, to make sure I would embrace the path he knew I was meant for. He hadn't built a golden cage. He had handed me the blueprint for a better world, knowing my love for Maria would force me to build it. He had recognized the mother's fury, not as a weakness, but as the engine of an unstoppable force. The why me question no longer echoed with paranoia, but with a profound understanding. I wasn't Philemon's puppet. I was his true heir, not because of some hidden connection, but because I embodied the very principles his life's work had finally come to serve. The fortune wasn't the gift. The chance to truly heal, to truly serve on a scale unimaginable, was. This wasn't just about Maria anymore, though she was still my North Star. It was about all the Mariahs, all the forgotten, the suffering. My old simple dreams of helping people one by one were now amplified 1 billion times over. I was still a nursing assistant at heart, just with a much, much bigger clinic. I looked at Maria, then at Brenda, then back at Mark. The weight of the tablet was gone, replaced by the exhilarating, terrifying lightness of true purpose. The battle for Maria's soul was over. The battle for the world's health, however, had just begun. And for the first time, I felt ready. Not afraid. Not confused. Ready. This wasn't a trap. It was my destiny. The cheers of the crowd faded, replaced by the soft hum of the air conditioning in the private room. Maria's arms, still wrapped around my legs, were a warm, solid comfort. Brenda, her eyes shining, squeezed my hand. Mark gave a simple nod, his face showing a quiet pride I hadn't seen before. The air still vibrated with the power of the words I'd spoken, but here, in this small space, it was just us. My family. The real reason I stood here. The next few days were a blur of headlines and legal meetings. Jessica's lawyers tried to fight, of course. They tried to say I was being used, that Philemon was not in his right mind. But my speech had changed everything. How could they argue against a plan to heal the world? The public wouldn't stand for it. The judges, it turned out, wouldn't either. The sheer scope and clear purpose of Project Veneraire, laid out for the world to see, made Philemon's will seem less like the act of an eccentric old man and more like the careful plan of a genius. He had chosen someone whose life already showed the very qualities needed to lead such a mission. Someone who embodied service, not greed. Jessica's challenge crumbled. There was no big dramatic court battle, no shocking reveal. Just a quiet announcement that the Vance estate was no longer being contested. I never saw Jessica again after the press conference. I saw pictures of her, though, on news sites, leaving her lawyer's office, her face a mask of defeat, her shoulders slumped. Her carefully built world, the one where she was destined to rule, had dissolved. She was left with nothing but her ambition, now aimless. I didn't feel joy at her loss, only a strange sadness for someone so lost in what they thought they wanted. With the legal battle behind us, the real work began. Mark became my right hand, a calm, steady voice in the storm of information that crashed over me daily. He introduced me to teams of brilliant scientists, engineers, and doctors, all working on parts of Project Veneraire. It was like Philemon had built a giant, complex puzzle, and now I was holding the final picture of what it was supposed to be. AI systems that could diagnose rare diseases faster than any human. Tiny robots that could perform surgery with incredible precision. Networks that could send medical information to even the most isolated villages. It was all there, waiting. My days as a nursing assistant felt a million miles away, yet every decision I made, every meeting I sat through, was guided by the memory of those days. The tired faces, the worried families, the quiet dignity of people just trying to get by. Philemon's words about the inherent dignity of service echoed in my mind, no longer a riddle, but a blueprint. There were hard parts, too. The constant spotlight was a heavy burden. My old life was gone, truly gone. I couldn't just grab a cheap coffee anymore without someone noticing or trying to talk to me about Project Veneraire. My privacy, that quiet space I'd always had, was mostly gone. It was a bittersweet trade, my old simple life for this massive, world-changing purpose. Sometimes, late at night, I missed the quiet, predictable rhythm of the clinic, the feeling of helping one person at a time, simply, directly. But then I would look at Maria. She was thriving in our new life. The best doctors were now her doctors. The best teachers were her teachers. She had a team of security, unobtrusive but always there, ensuring her safety. The shadow that had fallen over her life was lifted. Her laughter rang freely through the big, beautiful house that was now our home. It wasn't a golden cage anymore. It was a sanctuary, a place where she could grow up strong and whole. My love for her, once a fearful, protective shield, had now become the engine for something far grander. Brenda, my loyal friend, found her own place in this new world. She didn't want the spotlight, but she had a sharp mind for organization. She helped set up the first community outreach programs for Project Veneraire, using her calm demeanor to connect with people on the ground. She was still Brenda, but now she was helping on a scale she never dreamed possible. We still had our quiet coffee moments, though now they were in a different setting, often planning how to bring medical supplies to remote areas or set up mobile clinics. The coffee was still strong, and our bond was stronger. One morning, weeks into this new chapter, I found myself walking through one of the vast research labs, talking to a young scientist about a new vaccine delivery system. My old worn-out shoes were long gone, replaced by comfortable but sturdy shoes that could handle miles of walking. I passed a coffee cart, not unlike the one where Philemon had first seen me. I paused, watching a young woman, a new intern perhaps, nervously clutching her own cheap coffee cup, her eyes tired. She reminded me of myself, not so long ago. I walked over to her. "Rough morning?" I asked, a gentle smile on my face. She looked up, startled, then recognized me. "Oh, Ms. Lewis." "Yes, a bit." "Let me get you another one," I said, nodding to the vendor. "On me." She blinked, surprised, but a small smile touched her lips. "Oh, you don't have to." "I insist," I said. Sometimes, a little kindness goes a long way. It reminds you why you're doing this. As she took the fresh cup, her eyes met mine. "Thank you," she said, and I saw a flicker of hope, of renewed energy in her gaze. It was a small moment, nothing like the grand press conference, but it felt like a full circle. Philemon had seen me, truly seen me, and offered a simple kindness that changed everything. Now, I was in a position to offer not just a cup of coffee, but the chance for millions to find their own path to health and dignity. Philemon's death had been sudden, but his legacy was far from over. His massive fortune wasn't a curse, it was a resource. His empire wasn't just about making money, it was about building a better world. I understood now that he hadn't just left me money. He had left me a gift, the chance to live out my deepest purpose. The world was still a complicated, dangerous place. There were still corporate rivals, shadowy agencies, and big problems to solve. Project Veneraire would face countless challenges, both seen and unseen. But the paranoia had faded, replaced by resolve. The fear had given way to an unstoppable drive. Every night, as I tucked Maria into bed, I knew what I was fighting for. Her future. The future of all children. The chance for every human being to experience the inherent dignity of service, not just by giving it, but by receiving it when they needed it most. This wasn't an ending, it was a beginning. A vast, hopeful, terrifying new chapter. And I, Janet Lewis, the nursing assistant, was ready to write it. My heart, once heavy with fear, now soared with a purpose beyond anything I could have ever imagined. The fortune was just the key. The world was the door. And I was walking through it, hand in hand with love. What did this story teach you about purpose and love? Drop your thoughts in the comments and subscribe for more stories that will change how you see the world. The cheers of the crowd faded, replaced by the soft hum of the air conditioning in the private room. Maria's arms, still wrapped around my legs, were a warm, solid comfort. Brenda, her eyes shining, squeezed my hand. Mark gave a simple nod, his face showing a quiet pride I hadn't seen before. The air still vibrated with the power of the words I'd spoken, but here, in this small space, it was just us. My family, the real reason I stood here. The next few days were a blur of headlines and legal meetings. Jessica's lawyers tried to fight, of course. They tried to say I was being used, that Philemon was not in his right mind. But my speech had changed everything. How could they argue against a plan to heal the world? The public wouldn't stand for it. The judges, it turned out, wouldn't either. The sheer scope and clear purpose of Project Veneraire, laid out for the world to see, made Philemon's will seem less like the act of an eccentric old man and more like the careful plan of a genius. He had chosen someone whose life already showed the very qualities needed to lead such a mission. Someone who embodied service, not greed. Jessica's challenge crumbled. There was no big dramatic court battle, no shocking reveal. Just a quiet announcement that the Vance estate was no longer being contested. I never saw Jessica again after the press conference. I saw pictures of her, though, on news sites, leaving her lawyer's office, her face a mask of defeat, her shoulders slumped. Her carefully built world, the one where she was destined to rule, had dissolved. She was left with nothing but her ambition, now aimless. I didn't feel joy at her loss, only a strange sadness for someone so lost in what they thought they wanted. With the legal battle behind us, the real work began. Mark became my right hand, a calm, steady voice in the storm of information that crashed over me daily. He introduced me to teams of brilliant scientists, engineers, and doctors, all working on parts of Project Veneraire. It was like Philemon had built a giant, complex puzzle, and now I was holding the final picture of what it was supposed to be. AI systems that could diagnose rare diseases faster than any human. Tiny robots that could perform surgery with incredible precision. Networks that could send medical information to even the most isolated villages. It was all there, waiting. My days as a nursing assistant felt a million miles away, yet every decision I made, every meeting I sat through, was guided by the memory of those days. The tired faces, the worried families, the quiet dignity of people just trying to get by. Philemon's words about the inherent dignity of service echoed in my mind, no longer a riddle, but a blueprint. There were hard parts, too. The constant spotlight was a heavy burden. My old life was gone, truly gone. I couldn't just grab a cheap coffee anymore without someone noticing or trying to talk to me about Project Veneraire. My privacy, that quiet space I'd always had, was mostly gone. It was a bittersweet trade, my old simple life for this massive, world-changing purpose. Sometimes, late at night, I missed the quiet, predictable rhythm of the clinic, the feeling of helping one person at a time, simply, directly. But then I would look at Maria. She was thriving in our new life. The best doctors were now her doctors. The best teachers were her teachers. She had a team of security, unobtrusive but always there, ensuring her safety. The shadow that had fallen over her life was lifted. Her laughter rang freely through the big, beautiful house that was now our home. It wasn't a golden cage anymore. It was a sanctuary, a place where she could grow up strong and whole. My love for her, once a fearful, protective shield, had now become the engine for something far grander. Brenda, my loyal friend, found her own place in this new world. She didn't want the spotlight, but she had a sharp mind for organization. She helped set up the first community outreach programs for Project Veneraire, using her calm demeanor to connect with people on the ground. She was still Brenda, but now she was helping on a scale she never dreamed possible. We still had our quiet coffee moments, though now they were in a different setting, often planning how to bring medical supplies to remote areas or set up mobile clinics. The coffee was still strong, and our bond was stronger. One morning, weeks into this new chapter, I found myself walking through one of the vast research labs, talking to a young scientist about a new vaccine delivery system. My old worn-out shoes were long gone, replaced by comfortable but sturdy shoes that could handle miles of walking. I passed a coffee cart, not unlike the one where Philemon had first seen me. I paused, watching a young woman, a new intern perhaps, nervously clutching her own cheap coffee cup, her eyes tired. She reminded me of myself, not so long ago. I walked over to her. "Rough morning?" I asked, a gentle smile on my face. She looked up, startled, then recognized me. "Oh, Ms. Lewis." "Yes, a bit." "Let me get you another one," I said, nodding to the vendor. "On me." She blinked, surprised, but a small smile touched her lips. "Oh, you don't have to." "I insist," I said. "Sometimes a little kindness goes a long way. It reminds you why you're doing this." As she took the fresh cup, her eyes met mine. "Thank you," she said, and I saw a flicker of hope, of renewed energy in her gaze. It was a small moment, nothing like the grand press conference, but it felt like a full circle. Philemon had seen me, truly seen me, and offered a simple kindness that changed everything. Now, I was in a position to offer not just a cup of coffee, but the chance for millions to find their own path to health and dignity. Philemon's death had been sudden, but his legacy was far from over. His massive fortune wasn't a curse, it was a resource. His empire wasn't just about making money, it was about building a better world. I understood now that he hadn't just left me money. He had left me a gift, the chance to live out my deepest purpose. The world was still a complicated, dangerous place. There were still corporate rivals, shadowy agencies, and big problems to solve. Project Veneraire would face countless challenges, both seen and unseen. But the paranoia had faded, replaced by resolve. The fear had given way to an unstoppable drive. Every night, as I tucked Maria into bed, I knew what I was fighting for. Her future. The future of all children. The chance for every human being to experience the inherent dignity of service, not just by giving it, but by receiving it when they needed it most. This wasn't an ending, it was a beginning. A vast, hopeful, terrifying new chapter. And I, Janet Lewis, the nursing assistant, was ready to write it. My heart, once heavy with fear, now soared with a purpose beyond anything I could have ever imagined. The fortune was just the key. The world was the door. And I was walking through it, hand in hand with love. What did this story teach you about purpose and love? Drop your thoughts in the comments and subscribe for more stories that will change how you see the world.